In this video, we're going to learn how to swap nodes of a linked list in pairs. So what I mean here that I need to swap the nodes in pairs. So like now, if I start from here, then this is a pair. So if this is a pair, that means I have to swap these values. So I don't have to swap the values, I have to swap the nodes, okay? So this 3 node will gonna come here and the 2 node will gonna come here. So it's gonna look like 3 and then 2. Then this pair is done. Now the turn of this pair. Okay, so now this fifth node will gonna come here and this 4 will gonna come here. Then you can simply write 5 and then 4. Then this pair is done. Now it's turn for this pair. The 7 node will gonna come here and the 6 node will gonna come here. So you can simply write 7 and then 6. So this pair is done. Now this 8 is not paired with anyone, so it is left alone. So we can just simply write this as it is and point to null. So this is our new linked list that is created after doing pairwise swapping, and that's what we need to do. This is the whole question. Okay, so how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna swap these values pairwise? Like in the question, they specifically mention this thing that you need to swap the nodes, not the values. Otherwise, it would be very easy that you can simply replace this 2 from here to 3, and then you can simply replace this 3 with 2. But in this question, you have to replace the node. That means this 3 node actually should come here and this 2 node actually should come here. Okay, so let's see how we're gonna do this. So before taking this big of a linked list, we're gonna take only 4 nodes and we're gonna see how that's gonna work. So let's say you have 1, then 2, 3, and 4, and it's pointing to null. So just for a second, just assume this thing that you don't need to make pair of this, you need to make the pair of this. Okay, just assume. So you have to swap these 2 values. You don't have to touch this, you don't have to touch this, you just have to swap these 2 values. Okay, so just you can assume this thing that there is a linked list here, there exists, and maybe it's not null here. So there's a linked list maybe exist here also. Okay, so now you're stranded here and you want to swap these 2 nodes. What you can do, you can take 4 pointers pointing to each and every node. Okay, as I have to swap these 2 nodes, so I'm going to call this node and this node as barrier nodes, which will be supporting in swapping these nodes. So how can I do this? Okay, so this is a pointer here. This is a pointer that's pointing to this node. This node's next is pointing to 2. If I swap this, that means 3 should come here. I can simply do this thing that I can make this 1 pointer's next equals to 3. Okay, so if I do this thing, so what I actually mean that I'm gonna make this 1 pointer, this next equals to 3. So if I do this thing, I simply will be getting 1's next as 3, right? In the second, and now the second thing that I need to do, now I know this thing that if the 3 came here, the 2 should come after it because it's a swap, so 2 should come after it. Now this 2 should be the next of this 3. So I can simply write that 3's next should be 2. So I can simply do here that 3's next is 2. Now as this 4 should be at its position and this 4 should be the next of this 2, right? Because after swap, this 2 will gonna come here and this 4 was already there, so you need to connect this 2 to this 4 also. So you can simply do 2's next should be 4, and you can simply connect this to 4. So that's how we're gonna swap it. You can see that our values got swapped. It was 2, 3 here, now it's 3, 2. So you're probably wondering that why we took this 1 and 4. We took this because we want, like, the thing is that we are swapping this. If we swap this without these 2 values, that is also possible. We can swap this without these 2 also. But how are you going to connect these two values inside of the linked list? This linked list is starting from somewhere here and ending somewhere there. So you need to be connected in the linked list itself. So to do that, we have to connect this node to this node after swap, and you need to take care that the swapped node is connected to the front node also. Because if here you are swapping this 4 and 5, then 5 came here and 4 came here, but they are still in the linked list. If you don't take the help of this 2, and if you don't take the help of the 7, you will not gonna be able to set these 4 after swap inside of the list. So to do that, just take the help of these two barrier nodes. I just call them barrier nodes. Now, so you understood that how we're gonna swap it. So that's the same thing we're gonna do from the starting for this, for this, for this. So like for this, we take help of this 3 and 6, and after that this is a pair again, so we're gonna take the help of this 5 and then this 8. Okay, so this is not a pair, so there's no need of help. But there's one thing if you see here, that I said this thing that I'm gonna swap these two and I need the help of barrier nodes. So this is going to be here, but there is no node here. This is the head of the linked list. This is the head. So I said this thing that you need to have barrier nodes on the both sides, but this pair does not have, because this is just the starting. So you can just simply create your own barrier node also at the front. You know this thing that there is a concept called as a dummy node concept, and we create dummy node for so many reasons, and it helps a lot in solving linked list questions. So you can just simply create a dummy node with any value inside. So let's take the value is 0 inside. So you're going to create a dummy node which is going to be 0, and you're going to attach that dummy node to the start of the list. So you're going to look something like this. So you can simply take the help of this dummy node, and this will going to act as a barrier node now for this. Okay, so let's see clearly that what I actually mean, and we're going to see some code also. So let's make a linked list again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it points to null. So now you can see this thing that we have just two pairs here. One pair is this, and another pair is this. Okay, this is not a pair, this is a single node, so we're just gonna put it as it is. So this is a pair, so what's going to be the resultant linked list? Resultant linked list will going to be the 3 will gonna come at the front, and the 2 will gonna come after that. Then the 5 will gonna come here, then 4 will gonna come here. So the 5 will gonna come here, then the 4, and then 6 as it is, because it does not create any pair. So this is what I need. Okay, so as I said that I need to create a dummy node here, so I'm going to create a dummy node which is going to be, let's say, 0, and I will be just pointing that to the head of the list. This is the head of the list, this is the head of the list, and I just point this dummy node to the head of the list. How we do that? We just simply write dummies next is equals to head. So the dummies next will gonna point to head. So these are the two nodes that I took, and after this I have to declare 4 pointers. One is on this, one is on this, one is on this, one is on this. Okay, so that I can swap this with the help of these two. Right, so I'm gonna name the pointers here. So let's say this pointer is the previous pointer, and this pointer is the forward pointer, and these two pointers are the current 1 and the current 2 pointers. So these are the names that I gave here. So I just need to swap this current 1 with current 2. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here, if I write, I told you this thing that you need to, like, this is previous. Okay, this previous next is 2, but you want to make this previous next as 3, and with 3 here is current 2. So you can simply write previous next is equals to current 2, and now after this previous next we're gonna point instead to 3. So it will gonna look something like this here. 0 is here, and then it is pointing to 3. This is my previous and this is my current with current 2. Okay, after this I know this thing that if the 3 came here, then the 2 should come after this, right? So right now I can see that the 2 here is current 1. So what I can do here, that I can make the current 2 next is equals to current 1. So this is the current 2 and this is the current 1. So the current 2's next is current 1 as I wrote, so I'm gonna simply do that. So this is current 1. Now I need to attach this swapped pair with my linked list also. So to do that, I'm simply gonna attach it to my forward pointer. My forward pointer is pointing to 4, so I can simply write here that point this current 1 to point this current 1 next to my forward pointer. So now this current 1 gonna point to forward pointer, which is 4. So you can see that my values, my pair got swapped. It was 2 3, now it got 3 2. This is the whole procedure for swapping. Okay, now we're gonna move ahead. So this pair is done. Now this is the turn for this pair. Okay, so as I move ahead, so you can see that this was my case initially and this is my case after swap. Okay, so this is the linked list that I have to consider at this moment, right? After this 4, my linked list is exactly the same. Okay, this is 5 and this is 6 and this is pointing to null. Okay, now you can see this thing that my nodes got reversed, and now the turn is of this pair. And I need to make this 5 move here and I need to make 4 move here. That means I need the help of my barrier nodes, which is going to be this 6 and this is going to be 2 here, right? For this pair, barrier nodes is this 6 and this is the 2, right? So I need to make my forward move to this 6 and I need to make my previous move to this 2. Okay, so if I want to make my previous moved to 2, I can simply write previous is equals to current 1, because I want to move my previous here because this is going to be my barrier node for this pair, right? And I know this thing that my current one is pointing currently to my 2. So I can simply take my previous pointer, I can point it to 2. So that's why I wrote previous equals to current 1. So my previous will gonna get removed from here, and now we will gonna point to this current 1, right? Okay, now I know this thing that this is the pair that I want to reverse. That means this should be my current 1 and this should be my current 2 according to this logic that I used here. So I'm going to remove my current 1 and current 2, and my current 1 will be going to be my previous next. So like this is the next of the previous, and my current 2 will be going to be my previous next. So you can see here that this is my currents next and this is my currents next. So I can simply write, if I want to move my current 1 and current 2 pointers, then I have to write that my current 1 pointer is equals to previous next and my current 2 pointer is equals to previous next. Okay, so this is the condition that I'm going to write for the purpose of making my current 1 and current 2 coming to the right pair, right? Firstly, I'm going to move the previous from here to the current 1 position, then I'm going to move the current 1 and current 2 with respect to the previous. Now I know this thing that this node should be my forward node, and this node here is the next of this current node. So I can simply write that my forward node should be the current 2's next. So when I'm going to write this, I can simply point my forward here, which is going to be the current's next. So this is the current's next, pointer points here. So now you can see this thing that this is the code for the purpose of swapping, and this is the code for the purpose of moving the pointers ahead. Okay. So now we can, after doing this thing, after moving the pointers ahead, I can simply use this logic to swap these nodes. So after that, it will gonna look like this. My 0 will be here, then 3, then 2, and then after that my previous next should be current 2. So this is my previous, this is my previous, and my previous next should be current 2, So current 2 is 5 here, so I'm gonna move 5 here, point it to 5, and after that my current 2's next. So this is my current 2. So the next of this should be the 4, that is the current 1. And my currents 1 next should be my forward node, right? So currents 1 next should be forward node, which is this 6. It basically to connect it to the rest of the linked list. And now it points to null. So you can see our whole list pairwise got swapped, right? We will now gonna move ahead because I know this thing that this is just a single pair, right? But how I'm gonna check this thing? How I'm gonna say to the code that stop here? How I'm gonna get to know that this is a single pair, right? So I know this thing that initially I am here. Okay, my previous is at 2, my current 2 is at 5, my current 1 is at 4, my 4 is at 6, right? Now I know this thing that the pair will going to be ahead of this. So this is my 4, and I know this thing that my pair will always gonna start from my forward. So what if I do one thing? I will make my previous point to my current 1 node, which I do here, which I did. This is the first step that I do. So this is I'm gonna do this again without knowing this thing that I don't know this thing that do I even have a pair here or not. I'm just gonna check it. So I'm gonna move this here, previous equals to current 1. So my previous will gonna point here. So I can remove the previous from here, and now I can point it here, right? Now I can check this thing. I know this thing that I do this thing, right? This is this current 1 and this current 2. What are these? These are the nodes that I want to swap. So previous next is current 1, the previous next is current 2. So these two values should be present in the node. So now I'm going to check here. I'm going to check that previous next here. So if I see the previous next is 6, so I'm going to write 6 here, and previous next, so this 6 is basically the current 1, because previous next is the current 1, which is going to be 6. And for the second one, previous next, I will be seeing previous next, which is going to be null. So I don't really have any node. I have only current 1 node available, and my current 2 node is null. You can see my current 1 is 6, but my current 2 is null. Previous next is current 2. I need to have these current 1 and current 2 node for the purpose of swapping. If I don't have these, I'm not gonna be able to move ahead, and that's what I'm gonna write. So I can simply take a while loop, and I'm gonna write inside of the while loop. So I'm gonna write inside of the while loop that do this until, in the while loop I'm gonna write that previous next shouldn't be null, and previous next shouldn't be null. That means I should have the value of current 1 and current 2. So previous next, I know this thing, this is current 1. Previous next, I know this is current 2. So my while loop will gonna check, are these two values available or not for the purpose of swapping. If one of them get false, that means, like right now we can see that our previous next is null. That means this thing became false here. If one of the inputs became false, that means this whole while loop will gonna become false. So the swapping things will not gonna execute. Swapping logic will not gonna execute. Okay, that's what it is. So you understood that how we actually gonna swap these two nodes pairwise. Okay, let's assume for a second that this 6 have a pair. Okay, so if I do this thing, let's say this 6 have a pair, that means I can simply write, let's say 7 is there. So now I'm gonna check. I know this thing in my previous points to current 1, so I have, before even moving my current 1 and current 2 ahead, I need to check previous next and previous next, right? Previous next. So at this moment I know this thing, the previous next is 6. Good. Previous next here is 7 now. Previous next and then next. So it's 7 now, it's not null anymore. We just assume that 6 have a pair now. So I'm going to write here 7, and this is the value of current 2. Okay, so now I'm going to move my pointers ahead. So my current 1 will be going to be my previous next. So my previous next is this 6, which is going to be my current 1. And this previous next that is 7 will going to be my current 2. And now I know this thing that my forward node here should be the currents 2 next. So after doing this, currents 2 next, that is null, is going to be my forward node. So my forward node now points to the null. Okay. Now I'm gonna swap. So if I swap, I know the previous next should be current 2. So I'm gonna remove this. So this is the previous next is current 1, previous next is current 2, and now I'm going to swap this, so I can simply do this, that previous next is current 2. That means this force next that is current 2, that means that is 7, and this current 2's next is current 1, that is going to be 6, and this current 1 next is forward, which is null. So you can see this thing, I just wanted to show you that even if your forward became null, you can simply reverse the last pair also. There's no problem with that. Okay, if forward is null, in the end what we actually do here, we make our forward pointer points to the next of current 2, and then after that I assign my currents next to forward. So if my forward is even null, then I can simply also do this here also, and it will simply gonna swap. So before this, my list is as it is. So you can see this thing, that it's even gonna get swapped even if you do this. So let's see what is going to be the order of our code. So this is the while loop that we're gonna use at first. Then after that, in the while loop, we will gonna move our pointers initially. Even at initially, we need to make our current 1 and current 2 pointers point to something. Okay. Then after that, I'm gonna swap it, and I'm gonna check again that do my swapping material is available or not. So my current 1 and current 2 available or not, which I'm gonna check by doing these 2 checks. Then I'm gonna move ahead, then I'm gonna move my pointer ahead, and then I'm gonna swap them. So this is going to be my whole code. So let's see on LeetCode how I'm gonna make this work out. So this is our question on LeetCode swap nodes in pairs. It's a medium level question, and you just have to do like this, like 1 2 3 4 is there, so 1 2 is a pair, so 2 1 it became, then 3 4, then 4 3. So let's see how we're gonna write the code. So the first thing that we were doing, we were creating a dummy node. So we're gonna create our dummy node first. List node star dummy equals to new list node, and putting 0 inside of it. After that, I was making this dummy node next equals to head. I have to attach the dummy node to the head also. Okay, head is of the linked list, so I have to attach my dummy node to the list also. So initially I was declaring my pointer, my previous pointer, and it was pointing to dummy. Okay, because it's just behaving as a barrier node at first, right? So my list node previous became dummy. After that, I'm gonna start my while loop. And in the while loop, I'm gonna check for that are the 2 nodes that I want to swap are available or not. So I'm gonna check that is the previous next is not equals to null, and then my previous next is not equals to null. So these both conditions should be true for the purpose of moving ahead for swapping. Okay, now if I know this thing that I do have those values available, that means I'm gonna declare a pointer which is going to be my current 1 pointer, which will be pointing to the next of the node, previous next. And I will be declaring another pointer which will going to be the current 2, and it will be pointing to the previous next. Right. After this, I have to create one more barrier node, which is going to be my forward node, and this forward node was pointing to the next of my current 2. I had to do this every time in the loop. I declared these pointers again, okay, after checking that are current 1 and current 2 even available or not. Okay, after this I'm going to write my swap logic. So my swap logic says that make the previous next is equals to current 2 and make the current 2 next point to the current 1 and make my current 1 in the end point to the forward node. Okay, it basically for the purpose of attaching those swapped nodes to the rest of the linked list. Okay, so this is my swap logic. After this I'm going to move my previous ahead for the for the purpose of checking this, right? So previous will gonna become the current 1. Okay, after swap my current 1 just becomes ahead of the current 2, and this is just behaving as a barrier node. After I did this, I'm simply going to check again is the previous next is available and the previous next is available or not. If it's available, then only I moves ahead and I change the position of current 1 and current 2 and then forward. Okay, this is going to be inside of the while loop. After this, I can simply return the dummies next. Or I can do one thing that I can delete this dummy and then return my list. Both are good ways, but I think the deleting one is more acceptable. So for the purpose of deleting, you can simply write list node star. You can take this as temp variable and you can point that as dummies next. So what this actually means, it means that I'm declaring a pointer which is pointing to dummies next. So if this is my quotient and dummy is here somewhere, and this is going to be my dummies next, which is the actual starting of my linked list. So dummies next is the actual starting. It's like the head. So I simply created a node pointer which will be pointing to my actual starting. And after that, I can simply delete my dummy node because my pointer is already there. So I can simply return my temp here. Okay, so this is going to be our code. But there can be an edge case. There can be two edge cases which we need to look at. What if the list is empty? What if the head is empty? Or what if in the linked list there's only one node available? For the purpose of checking those two, like if the list is empty, that means the head is null, and if the list have only one node, that means that the head's next is null. Okay, so if any of these two conditions is true, I can simply return head. If this condition is true, that means my list is empty, so if the head is null, it will gonna return null here. Okay, if this condition is true, that means there's only one node, that means the pair cannot be formed, and I can simply return the head in that case too. So let's run this code. So we can see our code is accepted. So you can see that head is empty, so it returned empty. When my list was having only one node, it returned the one node because you cannot form a pair. And it was having 3, it became 2 1 3 because last node is unaffected. So now we can submit our code. So our code is accepted, all 55 test cases passed. So hope you like it and hope you understood, and let's see you in the next video.